We're keeping a close eye on major Hurricane Beryl as it passes through the Caribbean, and there's a lot of questions as to what's going to happen once it enters the Gulf. I mean, just look at these spaghetti plot models. They're all over the place once it enters the Gulf. There is no consensus as to what's going to happen, which is why you have to watch the forecast closely, and I'm going to explain to you why there's so much uncertainty with Beryl. First and foremost, it is expected to weaken. This is the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. But before it weakens into a tropical storm, it's expected to make several additional landfalls as a hurricane. Cat 3 as it passes through Jamaica, Cat 2 for the Cayman Islands, Cat 1 for the Yucatan, and then once it does enter the Gulf, you'll notice the cone of uncertainty widens. There are a couple of different factors that are going to play into how Beryl progresses and where it'll go, and whether or not Texas, the coastline, will have to watch for some additional impacts. First of all, wind shear is going to play a big factor. So far in the lifespan of Beryl, it hasn't had to work against the wind. It has actually been helping it grow and develop. The flow of the wind pattern as it enters the Gulf is going to be more hostile. The atmospheric conditions are going to start ripping it apart. There's a trough here that's going to start to shift away some of the convection on the west side and the north side of the storm, eventually exposing it a little bit more and weakening the storm. Not only that, but as it passes through more land masses like Jamaica, like the Cayman Islands, like the Yucatan, it's going to lose some steam that way as well. Now, how closely the Beryl gets to these land masses will impact how much steam it loses, which is why we've got to watch that side of the forecast too. So, is it moving into an area with disruptive wind? Yes. Is it moving through land masses? That's what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting. So we've got to track it to see how far to the north does it nudge, and that'll give us an indicator of if it'll nudge a little bit further north in the Gulf as well. We also have to watch for the steering currents. High pressure, we know that brings a lot of heat to Houston. We don't like that part of high pressure, but the good part of high pressure is that it provides a sort of barricade. This dome, you'll notice once it sits over us, it would steer everything south of us. Well, watch what happens to high pressure as we head into the end of the week and as Beryl continues its trek towards the Yucatan. It shifts towards Florida, and look at what happens to the steering currents. Well, we lose that protection, and you'll notice now there are these steering barbs that are all along the Gulf. So depending on where Beryl is situated, it could track towards Tampico, the area where these tropical storms have tracked so far this season, where Alberto went, where Chris went. However, if this tracks a little further to the north, there would be nothing to kind of nudge it south. So there is a little exposure to the Texas coastline, which is why, again, it's imperative that we monitor its progression as it continues to weaken, as it passes through more land masses, and we'll have to keep tabs on not only the intensity of the storm, but the placement of the storm. Where it is right now, number of days to reach the continental US is 6. So if you do the math here, by the start of the coming week, we could have impacts here. So that means, I know we've got the 4th of July coming up. However, watch the forecast at least once a day, and certainly try and get your preparations done before the weekend, because at that point, we won't have enough of a heads up. So right now, plenty of days to get prepared for whatever outcome. In best case scenario, we see nothing with Beryl, and then you're prepared for the rest of hurricane season.